The iPhone 12 Pro Max was Apple's flagship device that was released in October 2020, alongside the smaller iPhone 12 Pro. It brought improvements and changes compared to its predecessor in many areas, including design, display, and storage. In this video, I'm going to explore what it's like using an iPhone 12 Pro Max in 2025. We're going to cover many things, including the unboxing experience, the software, and the hardware, just to name a few. Does it hold up well 5 years later? Let's find out. So we've got this iPhone 12 Pro Max here, which I picked up from Facebook Marketplace for a relatively good price, and it's in very good condition. Let's take a look at the box. We can immediately see that it's quite thinner than that of its predecessor. This is the 512GB model, and let's take a look at what's inside. We've got the iPhone 12 Pro Max in Pacific Blue. We've got the manual with all the instructions, and this one actually didn't come with its original cable, so I bought a new one from Apple. Of course, we're missing out on earpods as well as a charging brick. We can also see that this guy has become a lot smaller compared to its predecessor. And I'd like to do a side-by-side comparison with the box of the iPhone 11 Pro Max. It's about twice as thin as its predecessor. And of course, that additional space was no longer needed when Apple decided to stop including earpods and a charging brick with your iPhone. And here is this iPhone. It's got a design that is significantly different from that of its predecessor, going back to the flat edge design from the iPhone 4 days. This is of course the Pacific Blue version, and this iPhone also kept the Lightning port. And here's what the iPhone 12 Pro Max looks like side by side compared with the iPhone 11 Pro Max. As you can see, the iPhone 11 Pro Max had the more recent design philosophy of the iPhone 6, but the iPhone 12 Pro Max restores the older design philosophy that we've seen from the iPhone 4 all the way to the iPhone 5S. The camera lenses are also bigger on the 12 Pro Max. Now, this iPhone originally shipped with iOS 14, but it's actually running iOS 18.5, which is the latest version of iOS at the time of recording this video. I would say this iPhone still has at least a couple of years of software support, so it's definitely getting iOS 19 or iOS 26, whatever they end up calling it, later this year, and will very likely get a subsequent major iOS update next year as well. This shows Apple's consistency in providing long-term software support. So even if you own an iPhone 12 Pro Max, you still have the latest version of iOS, and so you don't necessarily need to worry about upgrading if you currently have an iPhone 12 Pro Max. Now, unfortunately, this iPhone doesn't support Apple Intelligence, even though it does support the latest version of iOS. Apple Intelligence on the iPhone is reserved for the iPhone 15 Pro and later. Now, in terms of the display, this iPhone has a 6.7-inch OLED display, which is larger than that of its predecessor. It's got a resolution of 2778 by 1284, and this translates to approximately 457 pixels per inch, which is approximately the same as that of the iPhone 11 Pro Max. So this iPhone essentially provides a better viewing experience given the larger display while maintaining the same display quality. Of course, this iPhone has a 60Hz refresh rate, so exactly the same as that of the iPhone 11 Pro Max. It was also the last iPhone with a 60Hz refresh rate, with the iPhone 13 Pro Max raising the bar to 120Hz. Now, with refresh rate, it honestly depends on the person. Some people may prefer a higher refresh rate, which is available in the more recent iPhones, but a majority of users don't mind 60Hz at all. The iPhone 12 Pro Max features a stereo speaker setup that is largely similar to that of its predecessor. But I wanted to give it a quick test to see how loud it is and what the sound quality is like. This is one of my more recent videos. Make sure to check it out if you haven't already. A few weeks ago, the whole world was taken by surprise after US President Donald Trump announced steep tariffs that affect nearly all goods imported into the US. So it's actually pretty loud at max volume, and the sound quality is also pretty good even on my lower end microphone. I would actually say it sounded just a bit better than the speakers in the iPhone 11 Pro Max, but definitely let me know what you think of this iPhone speaker setup if you've had or currently own this phone yourself. Now, this iPhone has the A14 Bionic SoC, featuring a 6-core CPU which consists of 2 high-performance cores clocked at 3.1 GHz and 4 low-power cores clocked at 1.8 GHz. It also has 6 GB of RAM, which is a 50% increase in RAM compared to the iPhone 11 Pro Max, which had 4 GB of RAM. Of course, a RAM increase is always welcome, as it helps if you need to have multiple apps open and need them to stay loaded in the background, but also if you're using individual apps that may require a decent amount of RAM. Of course, this iPhone that we've got here is the 512GB model, and with the iPhone 12 Pro Max, Apple doubled the minimum storage option from 64GB to 128GB. So the least amount of storage that you can get on the iPhone 12 Pro Max is 128GB. Personally, I don't really need more than 100GB of storage, so I feel that 512GB is a bit overkill. My daily driver is a 256GB iPhone 11 Pro Max, which I've actually reviewed a few months ago. Definitely check out that video if you're interested. But of course, there are definitely people who may need more storage, and so they would prefer a higher storage option. But one thing I wanted to do before I move on is to test the CPU using Geekbench 6 and see how much of an improvement it is compared to its predecessor. And we're back around 5 minutes later with these scores for both single core and multi-core. Both of these figures are significantly higher than those that we got when we ran this test on the iPhone 11 Pro Max. So we got about a 400 point difference in single core score and about a 1400 point difference in multi-core score. And let's see how this iPhone 12 Pro Max does compared to other iPhone 12 Pro Maxes. And we can see that this device does just a bit better than average in single core and multi-core, with the difference being more apparent in multi-core. When it comes to the battery, this iPhone has a 3687 mAh battery, which is actually smaller than that of the iPhone 11 Pro Max. But even with the larger display and smaller battery, Apple managed to maintain very similar battery life thanks to good optimization. Now, in terms of battery health, this phone has been around for nearly 5 years, so its original owner used it ever since it was released, and so this brought this iPhone's battery health down to 83%. But 83% after nearly 5 years of use is still pretty good on what is a smaller battery than that of the iPhone 11 Pro Max. Now, in terms of how long a full charge lasts for after 5 years of use, you can still get anywhere between 1 to 2 days of regular use, so that's the lighter tasks and occasionally some heavy tasks here and there. In terms of charging, you can get a full charge in just under 2 hours with a 20-watt charger, probably less if you're not using optimized battery charging. And of course, if you want to charge your iPhone faster, you would have to opt for a bigger charger. Now, the camera setup on the iPhone 12 Pro Max is largely similar to that of its predecessor, with different apertures on the main lens and the telephoto lens. But there is another more significant difference, and that's the addition of a LiDAR scanner, making this the first iPhone to feature this component. It's basically a remote sensing method that uses the pulse from a laser to create a 3D representation of an object or environment with a high level of accuracy. But I also wanted to give you an idea of this iPhone's photo and video recording capabilities. So to start off, we've got some daytime outdoor photos with different colors to get a bit of an idea of the color accuracy of the cameras. We've also got a night environment photo to test this iPhone's ability to absorb light in darker environments. And this here is a photo taken in portrait mode. We've also got a couple of selfies. And lastly, we've got a video recorded at 4K 60, allowing for a high quality and smooth video that is also stable. Overall, the cameras in the iPhone 12 Pro Max are pretty good and definitely hold up relatively well today. This iPhone was also the first iPhone to feature 5G connectivity, which is great. Obviously, 5G allows for much higher speeds compared to 4G, and many iPhone users, I'm sure, would have been pleased with the introduction of 5G to the iPhone back in 2020. But the important question here is, should you buy the iPhone 12 Pro Max nearly 5 years after it was released? When I went through my experience of using the iPhone 11 Pro Max for 5 years, I said that I don't think that you should buy that phone in 2024, much less in 2025. However, with the iPhone 12 Pro Max, I have a bit of a different opinion. I feel like as a whole package, this phone is actually still worth buying in 2025, whether you're looking to use a cheaper alternative temporarily until you can buy something new, or whether you're simply looking for a decent phone at a reasonable price. You've got a good display, good battery life, good cameras, and really solid performance. Now, interestingly, the iPhone 12 Pro Max prices are a little higher than what those of the iPhone 11 Pro Max were like when that phone was at its 5-year mark. But you can still find some relatively good deals for a good quality used iPhone 12 Pro Max like I did. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please like, share, and subscribe. And feel free to let me know in the comments if there is anything tech you're interested in and want me to make a video about. Also, please consider supporting me by donating to my channel through buymeacoffee.com. I would really appreciate any support as I continue to bring fun and interesting content like this, only if you can, of course. Link is down below. This was the Wizard of Tech, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.